My name is Guenter Knaute, and I was born in 1932. And I would like to tell you something from the beginning. I wasn't alive then when my parents moved to Berlin, or then my mother was there. She was born there, and my father came from the south to Berlin, and they got to get together and got married. Now, my mother used to tell us the situation the way it was before Hitler was there. The different parties, communist parties and socialist parties, they just shoot each other out on the street. So if you were in the way, tough. You better watch. When my mother went shopping, she better look both sides. You see that there was a 4-lane highway and trolley car went in the middle and traffic. So it was a big street. And she said it was dangerous to go unless you watch first and find out everything is quiet. Then she ran across the street to buy the food. You see, we didn't have refrigerators. And what we had underneath the kitchen window, we have an opening with doors in front of it. And on the outside, it was a gauze type closing where the cold could come in, and this was cool. That was cool. We put our stuff, food in there. You couldn't get to it, but it was cold. See, Berlin is as high as the southern parts of Alaska. So we got pretty cool weather there. And so that's why we didn't have refrigerators. And we used to buy food like milk every day. And things that you couldn't store too long, well, you had to buy this. And I remember I bought milk, and well, I was a kid, and other kids was next to it, and they had a milk can with a handle on there, and I had milk there, and I used to swing that thing, and all the way around, and milk wouldn't come out. And I told that to the kids there. They said, no. I said, well, you watch it. And I done that, and I hit the tree. And I leaped from the tree, and it stopped, and here got milk out. Man, that I had the problem coming home. Things like this, you know.
Yeah.
And but otherwise, it was fine. Another thing was that you had to buy every day food and things what you need, because the inflation was so bad that they couldn't pay you on Friday, because on Friday the mark was already dropping more. So they paid you right on that day when you work, how much they, you know, how much worth your dollar the mark was. And that was rough. They had $1 million marks in a pocket, and you couldn't buy anything from it. It was bad. Shooting and people begging from door to door. And sometimes it was more than begging, stealing. And when Hitler wanted to come be voted for, you know, on campaign, so to speak, he said, if I have that, this is going to stop. Everybody going to have health care. You go to the doctor and you go us, and government will pay for it. And no shooting around this, no bumming around the youth. We'll put them to work. And it sounded good. And you know, when he got in there, everything worked fine. But if everything worked fine and people beginning to like him, that's when the trouble starts, you know, and they think I can do anything I want. And a lot of things we didn't even know. What happened to the Jews, we didn't know. Oh yeah, we one Sunday we went to the Bible study and for the children. And we walked to the church, and we saw windows from stores busted, big windows busted, and glasses down there, and all the stuff was standing right out there for you to take. But there was nobody there. So it was on a Sunday morning. And we said, what happened here? And we noticed it. All the Jews that had stores were busted open. And we didn't know what it was until later on. And that was when I was already 10 years old. And my parents would not talk on the table about it, because if you said something and you would go to the teacher and say, oh, my parents said so and so, that was the end of it. If you said something that the teacher didn't like, you know, and the teacher could have been by the party, you know, then your parents were gone. So we were drilled from at home, keep your mouth shut and don't say anything. And my parents would not tell any jokes about political stuff. You know. But I can tell you now, you know Göring, Hermann Göring, the one that was in charge of the airplanes, Luftwaffe.
Yeah.
He was normal size, and then later on he got big. And one woman is there and fried the potatoes, wants to fry the potatoes and have a flag, swastika over, and waved over the potatoes on the fire. The husband comes in, he said, what are you doing? He said, well, Göring got fat under the flag, and maybe the potatoes get fat too. I don't know. This is one thing I remember.
Now, how many years passed before you felt comfortable telling that joke?
Well, we were older. We knew to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
But I heard it.
But one question: Did you know that much difference between? Were Jews pointed out before Hitler as much as afterwards? Did you ever make much distinction between you and a Jew?
Not that much. But they had to wear a star. It said Jew on it.
Now that's before Hitler too?
No, that was after.
After Hitler?
After, yeah. Before Hitler, I don't remember anything because I was too young.
Too young, okay.
And but then this was all. And my father had patients that were Jews, and he had, we had one in our church. He was a Jew, the wife was not a Jew. And so we knew how the tension was, at least my parents. I didn't have nothing to do with it. But this was all right. What we knew, we didn't know anything behind what's happening. And she always said, well, I go with you to her husband, who was a Jew. He said, no matter what comes, I will stick with you. And one Sabbath we were in church, and she came home and he was dead.
Hmm.
You see, Germany doesn't have no gas like we have here.
Mm-hmm.
They made the gas from coal,
Mm-hmm.
and that is poison. When you breathe this, you're gone. And this is what he did. He had the gas valve open, and
Intentionally?
yeah, sure, he took his life because
okay.
he knew what's going to happen, and he didn't want his wife to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one place, one person I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what happened afterwards. I don't know. My wife, when we were over here, we came over here in 1954. Well, we left at 53 at Christmas. And so we were over the holidays, and we come in here on January the 3rd. Came in New York by boat, and when we arrived and had our packages, this was on a Sunday, 7 o'clock in the evening. When we came in, the fella came with a station wagon, friends of ours, that helped us to come over, and they picked us up with all the suitcases and boxes, what we have with Geschirr, what is Geschirr in
Oh,
glasses,
Okay.
and dishes,
Right.
pots and pans, and we had it all nice in a box, and we had stuff in between, yeah. And when this guy came on his hand truck, he sent it up and then let it fall over, and we heard all the glass. I said, oh man, who knows what it is? Well, we were there, and we said, I don't care what happened. And they had an apartment for us in Philadelphia. That's where they were living. We had a German church in Philadelphia, and through that church I came. The church elder was my sponsor. And
that's Seventh-day Adventist.
Adventist,
Church.
yes.
Right.
And so when we came in, if we would have had the money, we wouldn't even unpacked. We would have went right back, put it on ship, because we were so disappointed. The city of Philadelphia, it was a mess. The garbage from the holidays, from Christmas and from New Year, that was all sitting outside on a sidewalk. And we came in here and he said, what is all that stuff? It's just garbage. They pick it up. But it was on a weekend, it was Sunday, it was bad. They said, pick it up tomorrow. And of course, these people that helped us, they were only here 2 years, came from Berlin too. And so they were not, she had a baby, and he was the only one that works and did not have skilled labor. I don't know. Oh, he worked in a butcher shop. And there was not that much money. So they didn't have too much money, and they said, we'll rent you an apartment. And when they let us in the apartment, that was close in the black section, close to the black and Puerto Rican. And it was not what Berlin was. Our Berlin city, they swept it every night. There, it was terrible. They had the trash can outside, hanging outside, and the rats crawled up on the side and going into the garbage. It was pitiful. But we didn't have money to go back again. So we just unpacked it, unwrapped our stuff and put it in, and it was all right. I mean, we made it, and we didn't have money, so we had to stay there. And our pastor had an intern, young fellow from the college, and he said to him, your job for the next weeks is to find a job for Guenter, for me. Because he had a car and he was flexible, and so he had the time, and we went from shop to shop. And he had people that he knew, and ask him here, maybe can ask there, ask here, until we came to a company. It was a German company. I think it was about a little bit over a week that I was looking for work. And it was a German company. People, the owner was German, the bosses were German, and it was good for me to learn English a little faster, talk to the people next to you, and I worked on a machine until they wanted me to come in on Sabbath. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't, yeah, but this is important, you make more money there. I said, that's okay, all right. And I didn't go there, and I stayed there for 7 years. It's a German company, and we made pen fishing reels. You ever heard of it? Pen reel.
Yeah, oh, certainly, yeah.
That's where I worked for 7 years.
And they did not force you then to work on this?
No, they didn't force me. They just wanted to say, look, you make more money there.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I know. But compared to the German mark what we had, the dollar was more worth. I didn't make much. $1.25, I think I made. And I can buy more with $1.25 than in Germany with 6 mark. So, and I was there for 7 years until they wanted to make me maintenance foreman, because I'm an electrician from Germany. And I had my paper for that and all this. And they called me in the office and they said, but you have to come in on Saturday. I said, well, that answers all the questions. That's it. No, that's it. And in a week or so, I left the place looking for something else. Found another job. Was Sabbath free and more money. So God blessed it. We had the blessing on it. And it was outside of Philadelphia. That was in New Jersey. All you had to do is cross the Delaware River, and then we were in New Jersey, and there had the machine shop, and got more money, and nice, and there I was for 16 years. And then the boss was a Catholic, and one of the German fellows who works there too, he wanted to become up higher, but they made me foreman. I took the job, more money, and then after a while, he must have promised that other guy. He was also in the same Catholic church, and so he wanted my job. And I said, I didn't know, but before the old foreman, he said, watch out, he wants to get your job. And when he retired, that elderly foreman, he got the job. And the boss laid drawings on my boss, in the office of this desk. Take this home and estimate this. You can do this on Saturday, you don't do it on anyhow. Yes, so I said, well, that's it. I didn't take the drawings home. Took a week off and came down here to the south. Quit the job up north. And down here in the south, I found a job. I worked for 30 years. It was the best job I ever had. And there I stayed till I was 74 years old. And I enjoyed it. That's the way we came over here.
Yeah. Carry me back. The other day you were telling us a little bit about your 12 and a half years before coming here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 12 and a half years.
You mean from Germany?
Yes, in Germany, and
Yes.
and the bomb shelters and some of that experience that you had there.
Okay. Well, that's it. I got automatically over here because I had it up to here.
Yeah.
I said, I want to get out of here. Now, I would not have immigrated to Russia. No way.
And why?
Okay. Russian came into Berlin first. You see, the Russians, the American, they stayed in West Germany on the River Elbe. They didn't go across the Elbe. And Russia took everything. They dismantled the second rails on all the train tracks. So when you traveled afterwards, you had to wait till the other train comes from the opposite direction, stays on the same stop, and then you go on the same track back because they only have one track. The Russians took all this. They robbed the machines they robbed us where they could. And they were not too smart. You could easily outmaneuver them. Now, I don't know where I can start. First of all, they rape the women where they can get them. You see, you had to hide the women. I was down in the basement. Now that was already when the Russian came. Before the bombing was, we were across the street in a shelter. I told you about that bunker, that 4-story bunker out in the opening. And we were there until the water problem came. So then we said, oh, we go across the street, in our street, and there was a built-out bomb shelter. That was nice. We just had to cross the street with the stuff that we have, suitcases with, my parents have papers, insurance stuff and all this. And I had the gas masks and food. I was a little one.
You were assigned certain things to carry, is that right?
To carry, yes, yes. A gas mask for everybody and food. That was my job. And then my sister, she had the suitcases and okay. So that's just where we stayed across the street of all the bombing. Now, that shelter was tight. The doors were steel doors with rubber seals. Just like in a ship, you have on top a lever and on the bottom a lever, and that pulled this together. And this was made for gas. In case they would bomb gas, we would be safe down there. And so we went there for at least two years, something like this. And whether you were sick or healthy, we went to the bomb shelter. And when those bombs fell, now we lived in a 6-story house, all brick, 6 stories, and 16-foot ceiling. Each you could stand twice in it, so high with the ceiling. And this is the reason I say something, because our bathroom was 8-foot ceiling, and now there was a partition between the two ceilings, up over the bathroom and over the pantry. The pantry was a different room, and the bathroom was a different room, and they had a second storage for stuff that you don't need every day in your household, suitcases and boxes or something that you don't need. And this is where we had the women.
You hid them there.
Hid them there. And there was no steps going up there. It was a ladder, a step ladder. And the women pulled it upstairs, and they had a door for it. It looked like all the other doors. But they didn't think, what is that door doing up there? They were not that smart. And so my mother, my sister, a cousin with a baby, they were up there. Day and night. Now we had the door open, and they had inside a window. If they don't holler, nobody could hear them. And one window went out to the staircase in the back. So if they would talk and the Russians came up the steps, then you would have to keep your mouth shut. See, the Russians, they were from Mongolia, and they don't know how to, they could not go higher than first, second floor at the most, because they couldn't walk the steps.
Too big?
They were not used to it. The fifth, sixth floor, nobody was up there, no Russians. We didn't know that. And we were in the second floor, and sooner or later one Russian came through and looked for what he can use, you know. And before they went through the rooms, well, they let us know whether we had any weapons. We said, no, we don't have any weapons. And then we had in our house people that were from the Ukraine. Women, they helped. Underneath it was a pension place there. Elderly people lived there. And so she was helping, cleaning and all this. And they could understand Russian. And they said, they want to kill us. What for? What do you... Yeah, he said, we had weapon. I said, we didn't have no weapon. Yes, we got big knives. I said, well, everybody has those. We had big breads there were that around. And this was no weapon. And so they wanted to kill us all in the basement. And then they talked them in. He said, these are no weapons. This is what they have. So we didn't get killed.
Did you really fear for your life then?
Yeah, sure. But until this got cleared away. But then I got to watch that I don't go too fast ahead.
No, you're fine. You were telling me also, you know, about being in the bomb shelters and having to wash off your shoes because of the phosphorus. Yeah.
Yes. This was during the war when we got bombed. And therefore, it's the phosphorus out. And I don't know. I never fought the bombs, the fire bombs. But my parents were down there in the courtyard, and all the people from the house went down, or not all the people, but just one person from each family, to learn what to do with the bomb if the fire bomb comes. The fire bomb was that long, and it was not round, but four sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places, like a pencil, you know, flat in there.
Yeah.
And in the middle was an opening, and when that phosphor sprayed out of there, it would burn wherever it sprayed to it. And so when you see this, you take this on the end. This is not hot. take it and put it in water, and that took care of that. If you're not there, well, then there's trouble. That's why we had somebody all the time up in the attic. It wasn't easy. When the bombs fell, he was up there and looking for bombs. And they said we had 15 times fire up there. But he was there and he put that and took care of it.
So if he didn't take care of it, would just continue to set everything on fire?
That would spray out here, out there, and when it's empty, it would turn 6 times and spray. And again, and so that was, but if you know and you heard it, he was good. He was up there all the time. And so, besides of the fire, and we had if everybody had a tub, an old bathtub, and wash basin or something, if we don't need it, put it up there and fill it with water in the attic. And that helped,
But you were telling me that if it stayed on your shoes...
if it was on the street and you walked through, you didn't know it. During the day, you wouldn't know it. Only in the evening, when you looked at it and you would see greenish reflection. Then you have to wash it off, and it was all right. Yeah?
Because they could see you.
It could start fire if it dries up. So the danger was always there, but I guess my parents watched it too.
Yeah. Well, now, how long a period of time do you remember the actual bombing? Was that a duration? Was that a long period?
About 4 or 5 years. 4 years.
4 years.
But it wasn't that bad at the beginning. At the beginning, we were sitting there for 4 or 5 hours. Nothing to do. We heard some shooting. The Germans shot at and then we were watching. Well, was that a bomb? Nah. And then later on we heard, was nothing. And then one time we had bombs. People came from all over the city looking at it. Afterwards, nobody came anymore because they were bombed all over.
Everywhere. Yeah. And you, when the war was over, you still were in Germany 7 more years before you came here.
Oh, yeah.
And what were you doing during that period of time? Were you in school, and did you work there?
Well, I worked. I went to school. I finished school, and then I started with 15. I stopped school, and I went to business schools. The union and the city had 2 different schools for metal workers. So the first year, metal workers were together, electrician and metal worker. Then after the first year, it split up. The electricians were separately because we had other stuff to talk about than material. But I knew a little bit about working with metal, and that helped me when I came over because I couldn't find a job. They laughed at me. You want an electrician job? He said, only the union people get this. So, and then I went into machine shop, at Penn Reel. I worked on a machine and built reels.
Now, tell me, during that time, about when you met your wife and when y'all decided...
Oh, I met my wife in Germany. We were in a choir, and we had 28 churches in Berlin, Seventh-day Adventist churches, and from each church 2 or 3 were in that choir. And when I was old enough, I went there too. And I had some girlfriends there. That was not a girlfriend, I just an acquaintance, and the leader, director, he said, they're not for you. Those girls, he saw me because we went sometimes on a trip, and so we hung around together, a group, And so it didn't work out anyhow. But I found my wife there. I found a girl.
And then,
And then I got married.
how long after you met her did y'all marry and move
2
here?
years.
2 years.
2 years. And when I said I want to go to, well, first of all, I drove with my bike all over Berlin and the neighborhoods, and my parents took the train and I took the bike. I was home earlier than they were. And so when you do this for 4 or 5 years, you have it up here, and especially if you have to. In the summertime, wintertime, and rain and snow, always on a bike. And then I said to my wife, and we were married, I said, man, I would like to get a motorcycle or something. It's all I could do, I could afford. She said, I don't think we can do this now. All right. And then the American made enough advertisement in the German magazines how nice it is here in the United States. You know, the farmers go out on a farm in a tractor with air conditioning and all this. I said, man, this must have been the one from in the West. You know, huge tractor. They go in there, they had radio and air conditioning and go harvesting the. And it was not what it came. But anyway, they made advertisements that I'm going to go to the United States. She said, you want to go with us? I said, yes. He said, you can go by yourself. Just as easy as that. And then when we got a letter, a Christmas card from people that was in my wife's church, Adventist church, different section in Berlin, and they wrote and when I heard that, I said to my wife, I said, go ahead, ask them whether they could help us to come over. And she did. Half a year later, we were here. We had, in Berlin, we had the American commandant, what is it? American embassy in Berlin. So we went right over there and got our injections and checked and all this, and we were okay. And when we were on a ship, and the loudspeaker called us, all the immigrants going down in dining room area there and there to check your papers and all, come down. And the people up on there was a German family. They were after the war, and they said, we went over to Germany and see what happened and all this. And he said, you know what? You go better first down there and get your papers already. So you'll be upstairs on a ship when we go into the harbor. You know, it was something special. And we did that. And then when we were ready to come in, Statue of Liberty, and the thick end came afterwards when we were there, and we saw the apartment and all this. It good, and but everything turned out fine. Everything turned out fine.
So, seeing the Statue of Liberty was obviously a very important time.
Sure.
Yeah. But, and how long did it take you to get over the disappointment of that first time in Philadelphia?
This was, we looked around for other places, but this was cheap, that one where we were now. And since we didn't have money, we had over $500 to pay first, you know. And I got that job, and we paid this off. And in the next, well, we didn't pay it off in the first year, but soon, when the summer came, we moved. We moved rented a house in a better section.
Yeah. Now, are you the only of your family that came here?
Yeah.
You're the only one.
Yeah, but my wife.
And your wife.
Yeah.
And none of her family came over either.
No, not to stay. They visit us later on.
Right.
Later on, yeah. And no, her family came mostly from east, and they were Russian area. They couldn't go anywhere. But since we were in West Berlin, you see, this is Berlin. Half of the way was to Russians, and the other half was English, American, and French sections. So this American section was small, English section was small, and French section was small. I said, well, it is too high. We fix it. We insulated it. They did anything, promised us anything, because we were two young people and we both worked and we kept it clean. We cut the grass and all this, and they didn't want to leave us. But I went to a real estate man. He was a kid from his parents came from Switzerland. He said, I know it is hard. And I said, yeah, well, I had a house here, but it pays too much. It wasn't insulated. And I said, I got a house for you. I said, you want to buy it? I said, I don't have no money. I'm just here less than 2 years. He said, I know how it is. I give you the money. Gave us $500.
Wow.
He said, whenever you have time, money, pay it off.
And he was an immigrant too.
Yes.
Wow.
From Switzerland. But years ago, you know.
Yeah.
And this was our second break.
Yeah.
But I took a second job at my sponsor, who was a member of our church, and he had a bakery shop, in a commercial bakery. And I worked there on Sundays, and this money, what I make it, I gave it to the real estate man, and not too long, we got the $500 paid off. And we were in there, was not a dream house by no means, but was a twin house. You know, the other half, somebody else said it, and we had together we had a patio. That was closed in patio. It was nice. And I put a wall in between those two because I put a heater in mine and had flowers in it, because you couldn't have flowers that would be cold. And so but people enjoyed it. I made a lamp from piece of driftwood and put shades on it. It looked nice. And then we had green light in there and flowers in there. Boy, that was so nice. And we lived there for 2 years, 3 years, I don't know. But then we bought a new house. After this, we sold our house, bought in New Jersey a new house. Now that was longer than it was, about 10 years. We were here. And
Now, tell me about your children.
Well, our boy was born in 56. We came over 54. 56, he came in, and we already moved in. Were in our house. My wife was pretty big. She didn't help us moving in with the furniture, but he was born in the house. And the first winter, I want to make sure it's warm, and we had gas heat, but hot water heat. So that means that you heat the hot water, and then it goes into the register. What do you call it?
Yeah, registers.
Register.
Yeah.
And man, I want to make sure it's warm, and it was too hot. I want the kid to get cold. He said, "What are we going to do?" He said, "You can open the window." That's the first time I had the heater on. You know, we didn't know it, but it was fine. That's the way we got one step higher.
Well, Now, the main reason you came here was to get away from what had
To get somewhere in life. Either there, we just had work for a roof over our head and something to eat. Couldn't do anything else. And it was in the first time, you know, first, yeah. Sure, if we would have had patience and all that, and later on, years then, it was all right. But with the Russians there, and no way.
Did the removing or the taking down the Berlin Wall, did that have any impact on you at all?
We were here.
I know you were here, but in terms of how you remembered it and your family and all.
We were over in Germany when the wall was there.
You were?
Yes, and we could go over Checkpoint Charlie as American. I said, I'm not going to go to Germany unless I'm an American citizen. And we were American citizens, and then we went over there. We went over to the East German side, you know.
Did you have family over there or just
friends?
Friends,
Yeah. And
so the war separated friends. The wall separated a lot of friends.
Well, it's not the war, it's the sections. See, Russian, you couldn't go over to Russian sections. They had to have the Checkpoint Charlie, and they checked anything. I could not take pictures with me. Pictures I could, but slides I couldn't take. And I said to the guy, it is too expensive making all slides out of, making all pictures out of slides. He said, you can't take them in there. So I had to put them, take out, go in the west area, and then I have a store or a place where you had a little cubby hole and your number on it, and there you put the slice in there. Whatever you couldn't take over, you put in there, and then when you came back, Checkpoint Charlie, then you go back and get your stuff. You see? But we took a lot of pictures too, and
I mean, you smuggled them in.